Kelli, so welcome. Do you want to introduce the topic? And I did make it possible for you to share your screen if you like.
Perfect.
And then let me know if anybody wants to make a comment, raise your hand, put it in the comment window, and I'm going to try to navigate that because, of course, we do want that, the interaction. So
yes, and I cannot teach and watch all of those different places, so Catherine is amazing at that. Thank you. And if anybody else wants to shut their camera off because of us putting this on YouTube, I totally understand. But if there's any other reason you want to shut your camera off, resist, because we want you to engage with us today. We don't want you to just kind of have something playing in the background. We want you to be empowered, and I want you to leave here with actionable, feeling like you have actionable information that you go take into your business starting today to champion change effectively. Because we're always having change in our business. It's every day, every month, every year. The pandemic is a gigantic example, but even if we change software programs, that can be really difficult for people. Or if we change hours, like if you change people over to the 4-day work week, which a lot of us have been doing. And by the way, super high employee happiness with that, just for your information. Okay, so I guess I'm already talking about why change management is important. In my MBA program, there weren't a lot of courses that I was glued to the material, read extra or did above and beyond. I just got A's and I'm like, that's good for me. But in the change management course, I wanted more, because when I learned that 80% of change initiatives fail, I was appalled. 80%. So in your businesses as leaders, when you try to
I obviously hear you. Can anybody else hear Kelli-Rae?
No, I can't. I wonder if one of her iPods died or earpods died.
Did one, Kelli? Yeah, we can't hear you. Maybe one of your earbuds died or unsynced. No, we cannot hear you. Yeah, we're working on our technical difficulties. Welcome to the world of everything online now. We still can't hear you. Are you able to maybe just turn off the Bluetooth and those earbuds completely?
You'll have to change your microphone setting, Kelli, to internal microphone.
Sharing is paused. Okay.
Kelli, in the bottom corner.
There you go. No, it looks like she's got it.
Okay.
I think.
So Mindy, my perfect Mindy, just hijacked me because she turned on another set of my headphones that are defaulted to this computer. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so you can't do that. Okay, go on.
Yeah. She fixed it for me though. So
awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. So we're going to talk about 5 methods to lead staff effectively through change today, because not only is change management really interesting enough to me that I did my thesis on it, but it is impossible to run a successful business or to improve a business without change. There's no business in the world that is going to survive or thrive without change. So we're going to go through these 5 main points. And yes, I pulled these out of my paper because I loved it. I love that paper. I love writing it. I love teaching this, and I love using it. Okay. So these are the 5 topics: employee engagement and motivation, deploying effective leaders, planning out the change, having a clear and compelling vision, and creating urgency. So we're going to go through those in a little bit more detail. And I'm also going to ask you to participate at certain points. Okay. So we already talked about the fact that change is happening all the time, especially in business. And it looks like this time when I did the slides, I found the 76% statistic of all change initiatives in businesses fail. That is crazy. So we need to learn to effectively lead the team through change. And this doesn't mean push them kicking and screaming or just tell them to deal with it through change. This means like actually lead them, have them compelled to go through change with you. So the first topic, employee engagement and measuring employee engagement and motivation. This has to happen before. So like right now, you should always be measuring employee engagement and motivation. That should be like a monthly survey. Depending on your culture, it can be, pardon me, anonymous or not, but you need to have a pulse on your people before the change, because you want to know after the change, did people's engagement and motivation go up or did it go down? Or was there no effect? Okay, so we should start that now. And if anybody's thinking, well, what do I do for that? A really easy example would be a monthly, I don't know why I put quarterly on there. I want you to do it monthly. Please do it monthly. You can use Google Forms, or there's lots of other free software where you just send out 2 questions. The first question is, in the last month, how happy and engaged have you felt as part of the team at XYZ business in the last month? Or you can insert motivated or happy, or sometimes we ask how much a part of the team have you felt, and you just give them a 1 to 10 scale. And then the second question is, why did you choose that number? And that second question gets us some real gold that we can really use to improve employee engagement and motivation and happiness, and therefore retention, and also profit because of that. So, okay, talked about that. Okay, and if the company is going through a significant change, and I want to change this, any change is considered a pretty significant change for certain personalities. Employees must be surveyed before, during, and after the change. That's really, really important. And you guys are going to get these slides and a copy of the video too. So if you feel like I'm going too fast, don't worry. Just lay back. You don't have to take notes. These are coming to you. The second one is, we want to deploy effective leaders. And this one sounds like almost idiotic. Like, obviously, we need to have effective leaders in place, right? But it's crazy when you go into a business, thousands of businesses that I've looked at, they've got people in leadership positions who've never read a book on leadership, who've never learned about leadership, who've never attended a leadership seminar, who've certainly never studied change management or championing change. And they've just sort of gotten promoted because they've been there the longest and they're a good engineer, for example. So they went from junior engineer to senior engineer to managing engineer, or a different title. But then these poor people, most of them aren't getting trained as leaders. So the best leaders are always looking for material. They're listening to leadership podcasts. They're searching out like coaching seminars like this. And there's so much information for free on the internet about being an effective leader. So I just love it when I meet leaders like that are just consuming, like, I want to be better. I want to be better. I have that affliction also. Just be careful that you make sure to also know that you are enough, because sometimes when you get into that really, really dedicated, constantly improving headspace, you can start to get a little bit critical of yourself. Like, for example, there's like 8 books that I wish were in my head already that I haven't read. And, you know, sometimes I can think, oh, I should have read those. I should know that. But how many hundreds or thousands of books have I read in the last few years anyways, right? So with the effective leadership, you have to observe not only the individual leaders, but the way the people around those leaders act. Like, if your staff don't like the leader, that's a pretty good indicator that they're not motivated by that leader. Okay, your leaders must be capable of compelling the team through the change to reach the outcomes that you want to reach. And people don't work really hard or go through change willingly for people they don't like or they don't feel liked by. Your staff need to feel safe and cared about, and they need to have a really good relationship with that leader. So if you have a leader who is still trying to do it old school, like my dad, he's a heavy duty mechanic, the way he treats his apprentices, opposite of what I teach. We need to be more aware of today's employees. We need to be more emotionally intelligent. We need to ask a lot of questions as leaders. And remember, you can tell all your leaders, to be an effective leader, questions are your superpower. I learned that one day from one of my coaches, and it's just amazing because even right now as a leader, I'm talking, right? I'm trying to just give you information, right? And I'm not asking questions. So that's not the most effective way to lead. You want to ask questions so that you can find out barriers for people, and then you can knock them down, or you can find out what works for people, or you can find what they're comfortable with or what they're not comfortable with. And then when you're evaluating your leaders in terms of being effective, and I'm sure you're looking at KPIs with them every month, you want to assess them on their relationships with their reports as well as their effectiveness, because they're one and the same. And if they don't know that, get them some John Maxwell books, get them some, do we have some good book recommendations at the end of this? Okay, great. Mindy has got us a great slide at the end with some great change management books. And I think a couple of them at least will be by John Cotter. That was a big focus for me in my paper. He is kind of the captain of change management. So also help them improve. So don't be that business owner or that leader who tells other leaders, here's a team, figure it out, recommend books, help them, tell them things that have helped you in your leadership career. I find it really helpful for me to tell stories of how I was a terrible leader so they can laugh at me when I first became a leader when I was 19 years old and I managed hundreds of people. I'm so sorry to anyone who was underneath my leadership during those 2 years, but share stories about how you had to improve, share books, discuss books together, like read the same book and then ask each other questions. And if they're not willing or able to be effective leaders, they must be replaced. This is not optional. Some business owners are such visionaries or have such strong personalities, and those business owners aren't willing to change. They're just not willing to look inside. So those business owners, I direct them to hire someone to run their business, to run the people side of their business. Somebody who is an effective leader, who cares about the people, who can help them be motivated to move through change. Because if the business owner does not have that rapport with their employees or that connection or that ability to motivate them, they're totally ineffective. So we need somebody else. So even if it's the business owner, if they're not an effective leader, take them out of a leadership position. Have a leader who does connect, who the people being charged himself never. Hey guys, can you just mute yourself unless you're asking a question? Thank you. So I want to make that really clear. You do everything you can as possible to make them a great leader. Like, give them every opportunity in the world, teach them, help them, ask them the right questions, show them, teach in all the different learning styles. But if they will not grow and learn, they will not become an effective leader, they have to be replaced. It's not optional. These 5 things that I'm teaching you, there are actually a lot more factors to successful change, but these are the top 5 that I found in my research. So I know that you have to do these. So deploy effective leaders. Have leaders who are inspiring, they're likable, people want to do things for them, okay? Not those kind of leaders who, as soon as they leave the room, people stop doing their job and say, geez, he's a jerk. Okay, he or she. That was sexist. Sorry, guys. Change does not happen without effective leaders and change champions. So change champions are those people, probably like me, like if you think of a personality like mine, who you've got on your team, who pretty much whatever you tell them, they're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that. Those are change champions, and they can be in leadership positions or non-leadership positions, but you want to commend them on their willingness to change and encourage them to cheerlead the change. Because if you don't have champions, I'm secretly adding a 6th one in here, sorry guys, but you need change champions too, okay? And make sure you really compliment them. And maybe those are the people who should be in the leadership positions, not the people who suck at leadership. Okay, so the exchange, the whole point of the name of the exchange was to mentor each other, to learn from each other's shared experiences with each other. So at this time, I would love for you guys to unmute yourselves. Remember to mute yourselves when we're done, and share a time your business went through a change and how it went. So if Catherine, I'm only looking at my slides here, I can't see the people. Do you want to just pick people based on their hands up? Maybe we'll take like 5 examples, or?
Yeah, maybe let's unshare the screen for just a quick moment so we can see people's, I mean, some people raise their hands virtually, but some don't. There we go. Then I can see people a little better. Yeah, go ahead. Anybody who's ready, willing, unmute yourself and share.
Hi, Andrea. I didn't see you at the beginning, sorry.
Hi, Kelli-Rae. I can share since we're
I knew
chatting,
you would. Thank you.
because I'm a change champion just like you.
Yes, you
And
are.
my husband is not, and we work together. I'm transferring all of our software from Simply Accounting to QuickBooks Online. And so we're mobile, we can access it from anywhere, it's all live. And trying to get him to input the information as needed is very, very hard. My guys on the floor, they love it. They're like, oh, this is a great app. I can track my time better. They're giving me feedback. They're like, yeah, they're the ones that do what's required, where Ken's like, I'm not using that.
Okay. He's got his strengths, right?
Yes.
He does. And so you change champion and then you get your other change champions. Awesome. 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 Okay. Who else wants to share any change and how it went? Even if you're currently going through it, or you're planning to do it next week and you're scared, or you did it a month ago and it didn't really go, whatever you guys have, whatever comes up when I ask about, please share an example of when you tried to change your team, change something for your team.
Mitch's hand is up. Yeah.
Sure, I guess I can share. I mean, I didn't really think it was a good example because we're going through it right now, but I'm finally moving up from being a one-man team to a three-person team. So hiring and preparing for all of that. So I'm trying to balance as best as I can. How do I train people for a position that's not really, like, I don't have a prototype for it, right? I'm just trying to imagine what their strengths might be. So I feel like it's probably going to be more of a learn as you go type of role. So I'm just trying to prepare as much as I can ahead of time, and prepping for the fact that I'm probably just going to have to be super flexible and be very, very person-centered in that training.
And place that first slide on the wall beside your desk with the 5 things, because you're going to be the change champion. But I would also recommend, I don't know if you know her, Mandy DeCheco-Kolobaba. She owned half of Higher Standard for 14 years, and she's been consulting for a few years now.
Okay.
She has done 30 recruitments for me and my clients in the last year and a half. 100% knocks it out of the park. She's
cool.
amazing. Yeah.
Excellent.
I would connect with her. And also, if you want to do a free strategy session with us, just send me an email and we'll set something up.
Cool.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, who else has got an example of change?
This is Gurpreet. I want to share something also. I run 4 companies, and most of the work was done by me. But so now I started hiring people, and the first thing I went through was that I have to know what positions I'm hiring. So I have to know all the ins and outs of that position, what is needed in that position, and then I want to find out what qualities those people should have. And this is why I took this course today, to find out how to find good leaders, because most of I do engineering work, and all my other companies complement each other. It's in construction, it's into the software side, and then I'm a visionary myself. I'm a professional engineer.
Do you have an integrator?
Yeah. So
do you have an integrator? Yeah, you said?
Pardon me?
Do you have an integrator if you're a visionary?
Yes, this is one position what I was looking for.
Okay.
So I'm still finding a person. I do have 2 people, and so I'm just interviewing and seeing who is going to be the best fit for me as an integrator. So this is what I find, and then I bought a software which is going to be it's going to have a CRM in there. It has all the other stuff that's going to be. This is my biggest challenge. What I see is people don't want to go to a change because it restricts something. Like it give me more power to know what they're doing, and like it's for example how much time is given to them to do one project.
So that's not being tracked right now?
Pardon me?
That's not being tracked right now?
No, it was not tracked.
Okay.
So
I've worked
now,
with a lot of engineers. So if you want to do a free strategy session too, we can do one for you as well. But keep going, keep telling us. So that's 2 big changes already at once, right?
yeah, so this is, so, and then I do have some people with me who have been working with me for almost 10 years now, since I started my company. And
Good for you for realizing that they're not necessarily the leadership type just because they've been there for 10 years.
yeah. So basically, that is why I'm going out to find out if I can get other people. As I said, one of the things I was not doing was I want to know how to evaluate people. So, for example, what are they worth, and what they can contribute towards my company or our company, not my company, our company. And this is what I found that I was not sharing where I wanted to go. So the biggest change that I brought into my company is now I'm sharing everything with my employees also, because they are my family like type. And this is what I find there's a big change happening, because now they're helping me to what my vision is, my purpose of my company is, and they're trying to fulfill us. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of change. That's awesome. So when you say sharing more with them, do you mean you're being more transparent?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. Telling them, okay, this is where we want to be next year. This is where we want to be the next 5 years and 10-year goals. So we have 5-10 years goals, and then I have my goals also, because I want to retire by I'm 60.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So if anybody else wants to feedback or offer something, go ahead. But I just want to say this before I forget it. 2 things. I don't know if you like to read, but if you do, I'd recommend that you very quickly get your hands on the book Who, WHO. It's an amazing book. It's pretty much a textbook on hiring. So if you're not paying a really talented recruiter to find your people, then I would use that book. It's absolutely, like, if you like textbooks, if you liked school when you were in school, you will like this book. But if you're not going to read the book, the one thing that I took from that book that is the most powerful, that works the most often, is the fact that someone great for that position is within 2 degrees of separation of you. So if you put out and take the job description and describe the type of person you're looking for as succinctly as possible, and you send out a mass email to your networks, send it to your friends and family, share it on your LinkedIn, your other social media. Just say, if you know a person like this, please get them in contact with me. That's how you find your best people.
Okay. So it's called Who? Book is called WHO?
WHO, Who.
And by whom? Is written by whom?
Mindy's going to type that in the chat for you because I can't remember.
Okay.
I read too many books. That's the one flaw with reading too many books. It's like, yeah. And if you want, also, I'm going to make a note. Voltus Engineering, is that how you pronounce it?
That's right, Voltus Engineering.
Awesome. We'll send you an email later if you want, for a link for a free strategy session if you want to, because it sounds like you have a lot going on. We do up to 5 free strategy sessions a week. So
no problem. I also just want to let you know, I have another company where I give seminars to builders.
You do what?
We give seminars to builders.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, because I'm a builder myself too. So I have about 34 years experience in building and engineering. So this is why I teach them, what I have learned and share with them.
That's awesome. The connection must be just, because it's so hard for engineers who have never been in construction, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Really cool. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anybody have any questions or want to offer anything?
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Jackie. I haven't said hi to you. I don't think I've seen you before either. Thank you for being here. Okay, I'm not going to force anyone else to share. Do you want me to go back to my... Oh, there's the chat, though. Are you watching that, Catherine, or should I look at that?
I think the only thing is that Mindy commented.
Okay, great. So Mindy commented, the author of the book?
Yes, that's
wonderful.
It.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just haven't looked at my notifications, so It says I have
We're
7.
good. We're good.
you.
We can go on unless somebody else wants to share, or or you can assign people.
You guys ready to move on? If you guys want to please mute your microphones, then we'll just continue on. I want to get you guys done by 1 o'clock, and we do have some more sharing sessions planned. Okay, so step 3, plan out the change. This sounds like a no-brainer, like the leadership one, but you'd be surprised how many leaders just change something and hope for the best. I'm going to give you an example, the 4-day work week. So if you have someone intelligent who does your scheduling, you want them to actually schedule out like the next 6 months or 3 months or however long you need to do to physically plan out how it will work, so you can see any problems that will come up, like with holidays, or for example, people really hate to have their days off not in a row. So you really want to, and if you need to involve the team with this, you just want to write out the plan, play out the plan, role play the plan, whatever you need to do, but like try to act as if it's already been changed and try to think of the problems that you might come up against. Okay. I'm really bad for this. I just send very long emails when I get inspired, and luckily I have a very strong integrator here on my team that keeps me in line. But I'm just like, let's change this, let's change that. So I'm not perfect, nobody is, but I hope that by having these notes and hearing these words and hopefully going and putting this into your business, you guys will begin to be less like me. Okay, you must have a detailed plan, right? The scenarios, schedules, identify all the what if situations, and develop risk mitigation strategies. So one risk is that you change to the 4-day work week and then somebody gets sick. And even more now than ever, we're gonna be making people stay home when they feel at all sick, right? I hope. I hope that's one thing that we learned from COVID. I know before I didn't used to have a lot of compassion for people who stayed home sick, because I never did. But now I'm much smarter and I really understand the importance of that. So that's a risk. So you get this beautiful 4-day schedule. Everyone's so happy. They get 3 days off every week. And then somebody gets sick and it's for like a week or 2. So what's the mitigation there? Like, who's going to cover, and are they going to be okay with that? Can we talk to those people ahead of time? So that's a good example. Just try to think of every situation that could happen and what you would do about it. Anticipate what could be confusing and have answers for all of the potential questions if you can. And then let your team ask you questions before you do the change. That's the best, because they'll think of everything, like, because they're thinking about themselves, right? So they'll be like, well, what about me if such and such? So that'll really help you. And then once you feel like you've mitigated all the risk and you've considered all of the important people that the change will affect, and you feel like you've planned it out, then we are going to move on to the next one. You're going to implement it, but you're also going to do these other 4 things. So this should be tattooed on every leader's, I don't know, hand. What do you look at the most? You absolutely need to establish and repeatedly remind people of a clear and compelling vision, because the team needs to feel motivated and engaged to what they're looking forward to, and they should be looking forward to something. So when we're talking big picture vision, this is true, but I'm also talking about just the vision for the change. So with the software change we were talking about, the vision is that we'll be able to properly track projects. We'll be able to see if some projects go over budget or are under budget. And in that case, maybe you could give out bonuses. You can see what % of their time is billable. And you can use these numbers to ask questions in your monthly meetings. So I would make sure that with that change in particular, you establish a compelling vision for that change with the team, something that they could get excited about, like the bonuses I mentioned, because otherwise they can definitely react and defensively and start to think like, oh, you want to like look over my shoulder, you don't trust me, that sort of thing. But the better your leadership, the better your relationship with them, the better this should go. But you want that vision for them. So like, you can even ask them like, tell me 3 things that you think will be better with this once this change is in place, the bonuses. And a lot of people who are on the team who have a fairness
focus on fairness, they will love this because they work very hard, but they might think that some people aren't carrying their portion of the work, right? So they'll like that because it'll be fair and everyone will get to see what the numbers are. And actually, interesting fact, you can lose those people who think fairness is really important if you have a slack person or a low performer and you never discipline them or in the end release them if they won't improve. So I'm getting off track here, but what I'm trying to say is your team needs to be compelled and excited and inspired because of the vision for the completed change. So like, it's going to be so awesome when this, you know, and share your outcome, share your vision, but make sure that you also get their feedback, ask them what they're inspired about, because we really want them engaged and bought in, and they're very much more engaged when they help create something. So let them help create that vision for the change. Okay. So make sure that they know the outcome that you envision, make sure they feel that it's possible and they feel compelled or inspired to achieve it. And then make sure that they hear it reiterated, and reiterated. Okay. I can't say that enough. In fact, I almost put this in here like 3 times, but just trust me on that. If there's no clear vision and people don't feel compelled to achieve it, it's a much harder slog for you as a leader. Okay, cool little moving clock that Mindy put in there. I've never seen that before. Creating urgency. Okay, so this one has to be done very tactfully, and hopefully you have a great relationship with your people before you do this. I'll tell you what not to do. Don't tell people, if you don't change, we're going bankrupt, or you're all losing your jobs. That's not the kind of urgency we want to create. However, we do want to create some authentic urgency and share with them, like when we're talking about transparency, let's use one of our own companies, for example. A month ago or so, I got all the leaders together in one of our other companies, and we looked at our numbers. And COVID, we were not immune to COVID. We still did better than last year, but we had a few months that were really bad. And the team didn't really all understand the budget or the cash flow projections. So we showed them. So at the end of this really bad month, we lost money. And then we had to pay these other things, you know? So explaining that, you know, what do you think will happen if we continue to not hit our sales goals, but keep spending this much on expenses? And people are like, well, eventually we'll run out of money, right? So questions are your superpower. Write that somewhere. You don't want to be constantly telling them, you want to ask, right? So create urgency for them by involving them and authentically sharing something, and asking them to come up with what they think it is, that will create some urgency. Like, we need to make this happen and we need to make it stick, or else something bad will happen. And it has to be bad enough that it creates urgency, but it has to be true and authentic. And it can't be that like they think they're all going to lose their jobs or that you're going to go out of business, because that just scares them and sometimes they will look for another job. Okay. So make sure they trust you and they're not scared. Like, they're not scared they're going to lose their jobs or things like that, but they are motivated. Creating urgency. This one, actually, when I originally put together these slides, I only picked my top 4. And then I started to think about some of the changes that I've implemented with businesses, my own or others, like clients. And I'm like, yeah, that urgency, I have to put that in there because sometimes it's just, there's no fire, right? So that urgency kind of lights that fire. So now I want to ask you guys to share, what are some examples that you think would be appropriate for creating urgency? And I'm going to just quickly stop sharing so I can see the faces. 12:38. Okay, does anybody want to share an example? Just maybe think of the change you're going through and then think of how you can create some urgency without making them scared that we're going to go bankrupt or they're going to lose their jobs.
Kelli-Rae, it's Sandy here.
Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Good. I think that one of the things that you're let's look at from the positive side. In today's environment, those entities that are really working hard and dealing with change, it's making the space for the change to occur and convincing the staff that there's time and resources for it. And in today's environment, where we're dealing with a lot of negativism from COVID-19 and everything else going on economically, it's sometimes really hard to put the plan in place and stick to it with the fact that you've allocated the resources for it, and to convince the people to move forward, especially if one of your factors is your trained staff are already leveraged heavily with change that has occurred in the last 8 to 10 months. And so it's phenomenal how people will engage with it. But the issue is if they are already stretched to 130% of their available time, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Actually, audits of like we did this recently actually with Mindy. We're hiring another executive assistant, and when you go back and actually audit your team's time, I found some things like, for example, receipt bank. Like we just found some hours that we can get back for Mindy, and that is something that I would recommend too, is kind of an audit of what they're spending their time on. But yeah, Sandy, I love that focus on the positive, because I'm an optimistic girl. I am a focus on the positive, and that's why I almost didn't put that in there. But I just, yeah, I like that you've said that the urgency can be positive, right?
And you hit another thing about automation of things that are taking people's time now. How do you help them find the time as well? Some of it is so simplistic that people have continued to do things they did the same way for years. And if you can get them to understand that this in the end will save them time, right?
Yes.
Good, Sandy. This is exactly when I bought the software. So in that one, so what we're trying to find out is because I have done all the things by myself. So I know the areas where there's a repetition. I give you one example. We designed sump pumps. It took us about 4 hours to 5 hours to do a design on the sump pump. I can get the pump design in less than half an hour, and it's better than what we have been doing before. So as a bonus, so what I did is I gave a break in my, where we used to charge about $1,000 for designing a pump. Now we designed the pump in less than $800. So we give a break, and we're getting more and more because we are very competitive, and we have a very good grasp on doing this. And I'm trying to design a software where it would take me 3 to 4 hours to write a report on our engineering report when we did our field reviews. By the time we'll finish with that project, with that software, it's going to be less than 1 hour. So urgency is how I started learning this. Is I took one course where they teach what's called time multiplier. So you have only that much time, but how do you multiply your time? You multiply by your time by working on something which will gain time, which, as I said, for doing the same report, which took us 4 hours. Now we can finish the same report in 1 hour. So we gain 3 hours, and it's going to be for all the reports that's going to be done later on in the years.
Amazing. What's the book called? Time Multipliers?
No, not a book. I took a seminar where they do. Just another thing I want to encourage all the people here is about 2 years back, I started this doing. So when I try to get ready in the morning, it takes me about 1 hour to, once I've taken the shower, to tie my beard, tie my turban, get ready. So I have 1 hour, right? In this 1 hour, I always watch one video. Go to YouTube, you get free videos, whatever topic you want. Today, I learned about how to be mindful, right? So you learn, something each day. And this is where I learned how to multiply your time and do other things. So people used to have only one way of looking at the priority, okay? So I asked one of the students to design a software for me. He did it less than 2 days. So now it's a three-dimensional. You have urgency, you have a significance, and then the third thing you have to look at is importance. So anything you do, you look at these things on the priority time, and in the morning when I come to the office, so my integrator or my assistant, he already prioritized my list, and I have 4 or 5, and based on time, whatever it takes. Let's say if I have to answer an email, it will take me 1 hour. He will point out 1 hour for that email. If I do that earlier, I have more time. Otherwise, it's already booked. So most important things are everything is booked for the day. Done.
Awesome. And that was a course you took that was called Time Multipliers?
Time multiplier. It's called Time Multiplier.
Singular. Okay, cool. Deborah.
And then we have Erin as well after that.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Deb. I work in healthcare, and I just wanted to, I really like this topic of creating urgency in a positive way, mentioned by 2 people. Something that I'm in home health, so we've seen a lot of pivots. There's a lot of new softwares. There's a lot of opportunity for change to provide better care to at all levels, children, seniors. So we are really, we're trying to pick our battles, what change needs to happen in what order, because we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. But there's a dual opportunity. There's 2 issues. We offer medical care, but home care is very about a social experience as well. Someone's coming into your home. They're going to be a part of your life. They're going to be in your kitchen. They're going to be in your personal space. So, and we have certified caregivers, and sometimes the skill matches the individual's needs. But there's a deeper research that goes on to match the social needs of those people so that it's a good fit, because continuity of care is a really big problem in home health care, getting the same person to return. So some ways that we create urgency is the more we can get to know people, the more we can learn about the people we take care of and the caregivers that we employ. To match them effectively solves 2 issues. It solves the issue of continuity of care, and it also solves the issue of regular part-time to full-time work for that caregiver, because we work in a very casual environment where we can get an awful lot of employees only having a few hours, which, as we're talking about here today, in itself limits staff engagement when they're only working for you 5-10 hours a week. So our goal is always to increase the number of hours that we can offer employees while increasing the quality for our people. And by increasing the quality for our clients and the people we serve, that problem gets solved because those people become in higher demand. There's more hours available to them. So I just wanted to chime in on the positive. We encourage them, get to know these people, get in there, be social, get to know their families. What do they need? What do they want? Forget about having to give them a shower. Focus in on the conversation that you're going to have while you're doing that, and that's going to solve 2 issues. So I just wanted to chime in, because I never see my staff. It's very seldom. They're in the field all of the time, and so the conversations that I have with them have to be intentional and direct and useful every time I get in front of them. And I could talk to you about software and all the other changes, but that's for another day. So I just wanted to offer that, how there's a duality there, that sometimes creating positive urgency to improve client experience in turn improves employee experience, and vice versa.
That's amazing. Thank you. And I at the beginning, I couldn't wrap my brain around it, even because there are so few examples of positive urgency. So thank you so much. You've given me like a whole new, I need to go look for more examples of positive urgency. I really like that. Thank you. Erin?
Thanks, Kelli-Rae, and thanks to all of you. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Erin Crane, and I work with Economic Development Lethbridge. And I just wanted to follow up on this, positive angle, which I think is fantastic. And gosh, I've enjoyed hearing from all of you today. And thanks to Catherine for putting the note in the chat about our survey. And one of the things that we do try and do here at EDL, often the work that we do is all around change. And I'd like to kind of get some feedback from all of you too, about if it's effective or not. But one of the things that we really focus on is data and stats to back up the information that we're providing, right? So again, talking about why the shifts need to happen and bringing in some of that research to support that fact. And Kelli-Rae, I think this goes back to what you were talking about, is always telling the truth and, you know, how that fits in. And one of the other strategies too is also benchmarking ourselves. And Deb, this might be one of those things, you know, here is what we're doing. Here's how it compares to what others are doing in the same field. And here's what we need to do to make sure that we're being competitive with them. So again, you know, going back to use those resources that are out there to help back up what it is that you're saying. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin.
I have only one question you want to ask, because what I see is when you're doing a survey, and so your company, do you guys do survey and help people also in writing? Let's say I want to run a campaign for my company, which will target certain people. Do you guys help on those things in framing the questions and maybe a survey company like what you have used is SurveyMonkey.com, so they do the surveys and stuff like this. Can you help me in doing this?
Are you asking Erin?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big and loaded question. And what I'll do is I'll connect with you in the chat, and then maybe we can connect one-on-one after this is over. Does that sound good?
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I will share my screen then if I'm not missing anybody. No? We lost a lot of cameras. Is that a bad sign, Catherine?
We still have quite a few. No, they'll turn them back on. Maybe they're just taking a quick stand-up break.
Or eating. People don't like to be watched eating.
Very true.
Okay. You guys see my screen? Catherine?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Thank you. Okay, so change is happening all around us and we can't stop it. So we have to approach it positively, and we have to role model that for our teams, you know, like we have to be excited about change. We have to be, we cannot be the one that's like, oh, another change, because as leaders, you're always being a role model, whether you're intending to or not. People are watching you. And the most intelligent and successful leaders, they're successfully leading their people through change rather than just letting it happen to us. So the change is going to happen whether we like it or not. So I encourage all of us to become excited about change, positive about change, and curious, you know, asking questions to your team. I really, really, really hope that you write down the sentence, questions are your superpower. Because in leadership and in change management leadership especially, when you're able to ask questions and have your team tell you what their challenges are, what their fears are, magic happens, because now you suddenly know exactly what buttons you need to push or what book you need to share with them or what assurance you need to give them, and then they're back on. So questions are your superpower. If you haven't written that down from some of my other seminars, please write it down today. And then this is our last slide. Well, I'm going to ask you guys for Google reviews at the end, of course, like any good company leader would, but this is our last exchange slide. So please share, what are you committed to take away and apply in your business? What will you do differently to ensure the change is successful? So if anybody who hasn't shared wants to share something they're committed to taking away and applying, or someone who has shared, and like, what will you do differently based on what you learned today to ensure the change is successful? Jackie?
I think more, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, Mitch.
I think more than anything, I mean, that's the thing that I'm taking forward is really kind of quantifying and providing that clear picture to the people that I do bring on board as to what we're trying to accomplish with this change. Because honestly, if I'm looking at it, I don't have it fully fleshed out myself. So I think that that's one thing I need to really kind of get kind of well-rounded on before we go to try and hit the ground running with these new staff and get them up to speed. So that'll be something that I take away from this is having a really clear idea of what I want so that I can properly kind of distill that down to my staff.
Awesome. And if you can link it to your why, even if it's just in your head, oh, you can just light your staff up with it. Because if you've got your why in mind when you're sharing a vision, it's so much more inspiring. You're on fire.
Excellent.
Those two, yeah. Does anybody else want to share?
I have something. I appreciate your information, and I think my biggest takeaway is the reminder of the benchmarks.
Yes.
And that consistent of where are we, and where we know where we're going, and are we hitting those benchmarks? And I think the other thing would be follow through. I know I've certainly encountered leaders where they get you to work on a project and all of a sudden you find out that it's mothballed. No real reason. It's just, or whatever. Part of your team spends 40 hours on this, let's get this together, and you submit those reports and then nothing happens with it. So
have
anyway.
compassion for visionaries. That's all I can say. I would recommend reading the book Rocket Fuel and try to have some compassion for visionaries. It's so hard. It's so hard as a business owner to remember everything, to focus on one thing at a time, to do everything perfectly. But that is a good point. That can be very demotivating. So I would recommend always having an agreement with a follow-up date and possibly check-in points along the way, and then putting it in both people's calendars. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, though.
My pleasure.
Based on that note, thank you for sharing this. And one quick, when we say, they said, if you cannot, what I want to say is, if you cannot measure it, you cannot enhance it.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the a few days back, I learned something. Somebody asked Wayne Gretzky. He's the biggest player on the ice hockey, and he said, "What's your strength? You're not the fastest player, but you don't have other things. So what makes you different than other player?" When he was playing at that time, he said, "The difference between me and the other players is other players go after the puck. I go where the puck goes. I shoot for where I want to be. I know where the puck is going to be." So similarly in business, if you want to make bigger changes and to be successful, try to go in the direction where you want your business to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, this is unabashed, pure. I would be so grateful if you guys if you thought this was a good seminar. It really helps small local businesses to leave them a positive Google review. But if you don't think that we deserve 5 stars and some comments, please send us an email at office@tmhbusiness.com, because we're always looking for feedback. So if you don't feel like leaving a 5-star review with some positive comments, please send us an email. We love feedback. We love using it to grow and be better. And I'm going to go back to the book list for you.
Booklet, yes. Can you put the books, please? Book list once again.
Yes. And if you want to just Google TMH Business Coaching, you'll be able to find us on Google. But yeah, and Catherine, you're going to send the slides, right?
Yeah. So what I do, we will share once we get the YouTube link for this event, we will share that. And then I share the slides with that email. So watch your email for the recording and the slides.
Thanks so much for doing all that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. Yeah. Hey guys.
Thanks again, Kelly.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Connect.
Thank you. Nice to see all of you.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. I'm going to shoot you a text or an email.
Sure. Look forward to it.
I just
great
have a
day,
couple
guys.
questions for you. Sorry.
Sure, you bet, no problem.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks very
We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Catherine, for facilitating. You're awesome as always. Thanks, Mindy, for getting my voice back. Okay, guys, have an awesome day.